Welcome to That's Life. I'm Marcia Boyles, and as usual, I'd like to introduce my co-host and co-producer, Kathleen Taylor.
Good morning.
Good morning. Kathleen, we have three interesting vignettes this morning, and let's talk just a little bit about them. I believe we're starting out with Cecilia, who has some financial issues. And Cecilia is played by Jenny King.
Right.
And then we go to Morris and Pansy. Now, do you have any idea why they're coming in to see you?
I don't, but they do tend to drop in, and they always have something interesting to give me, so.
Okay, so we'll have to wait and see about that.
Yeah, wait and see.
And we're going to end up with a new character of ours, Penelope, who is Elizabeth Belmonte. And for the first time, we're going to see one of your social workers.
Yeah, Elena is going to be working with Penelope.
All right. Well, Elena Kydell is in Neighborhood 3, and she's your newest, isn't she?
Yep, she's our newest, off of Hunter's Crossing. So.
Okay. Well, we'll stop then and roll the vignettes.
Cecilia, hi.
Well, hi. It's been a while since I've been here, but I had a little question I wanted to ask. It's really kind of disturbing to me.
Oh, okay, well, that's what I'm here for.
Okay. I have a neighbor friend who said the other day she was going to have to leave Greenspring. And I asked her why, and she said, well, I'm running out of money. So I didn't understand that because I thought that Benevolent Care Fund would take care of us.
Right.
So I mentioned this to her, and she said, well, they say that I have used my money in the wrong way, and evidently she had helped her children buy a house. More than helped, I think, probably bought the whole thing.
Right.
So now she's running out of money, and they're saying, well, it's, you know, you have not obeyed or stood by the agreement that you signed. So when you're out of money, you will have to leave. And I am kind of appalled by this, but I guess she forgot or something. And I'm just wondering how that works, for one thing.
Yeah.
And if it's going to affect me, because, you know, I have given Amanda some money from time to time over the years. Not very much. Nothing like buying a house, but I have given her. So is that going to affect my status? Or?
Well, just to sort of back up and talk a little bit about how it could happen that somebody would not be eligible for the Benevolent Care Fund. It can happen, and it is, as you mentioned, part of the resident and care agreement.
Yes.
That, you know, a condition of your being eligible for the Benevolent Care Fund is that you don't use your resources in ways that are not directly related to your needs. You can still provide small gifts for a family, but if you spend an extraordinary amount of your resources for your children, that could actually disqualify you, which is what it sounds like happened with your neighbor.
Well, it does sound that way.
Yeah.
But then, what is this term spend down? How does that work? Or what does it mean?
Yeah, the spend down is when you are actually at a point where your monthly income doesn't meet all of your needs for services, and you're going into your down payment amount. So that down payment that you made when you came in, if you're starting to have to use that to offset your monthly expenses, then that's considered a spend down.
Well, then when that's gone, what happens?
Well, that's when the Benevolent Care Fund would come into play. And also, you would be applying for Medicaid, which is another, you know, that's the state insurance. If somebody's living in continuing care, that can also be an insurance to cover your the long-term care.
I see.
So yeah, there's a lot to think about for sure, and I think that it's a really it is a sensitive issue. We're really trying to get more information out to the community all the time, because especially that gifting, you know, how or you know what's
how
appropriate to spend your money for. All of that is it's case by case because it really depends on sort of what your overall financial situation looks like. What I do recommend people do is to contact our Associate Executive Director, Brian Mirandola, call the administrative office and set up an appointment to meet with him, especially if you're concerned about finances, if you feel like your expenses are getting more, which happens a lot of times when people have more care needs. He will review your finances with you. You can talk to him about, what's appropriate gifting, what may not be. Talk about the ways that you've used your money in the past, and he'll be able to give you an overall picture and a projection of how long your money will last, and whether there's a possibility that you might be going into a spend down period at some point.
Well, is there a set amount that you are allowed to give to family members, or how do they do that?
It really is. I mean, if you have like a lot of resources, if you have $1 million, then the amount that you would be able to gift or provide for your family would be different than if you're really pretty limited in the amount of resources that you have. So that's why it really is case by case. That's why Brian likes to just sit down with any of the residents and review what their particular situation, what's their expenses, what's the projection for how long the money will continue to provide. So it's just a good conversation to have. I usually tell residents, if they're getting to a point where they're starting to spend more on a monthly basis, if they, for people that maybe are in independent living but are using aides more often, to be able to give assistance to them, or if people transition to a higher level of care, if they're going to assisted living or long-term care, those are times when your expenses are really going to start to bump up.
Yes. Yeah.
And those are the times when you really want to sit down and just have that overview of what things look like and the projection based on the monies that are going out on a monthly basis, and what your resources are, all of that.
Well, is there now Medicaid does not cover independent living?
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
So that would only be if a person were in Garden Ridge.
Yeah, and in long-term care.
Oh, long-term care only.
Yeah, it doesn't cover assisted living either. But it's definitely good if you're in long-term care. Assisted or Medicaid will be able to offset the costs that way too. And then the benevolent, if you're eligible for the benevolent care fund, that will cover services, aid services, assisted living, those kinds of situations as well.
Well, do people know this in general? This is all kind of new, even though I heard it, when I first came in, but I guess I've forgotten some of it. But
Right.
I thought the benevolent care, took care of us. But I've been hearing people, concerned about
worrying
it.
about it. We actually just did a series of presentations out in the community over the summer, which really is a permanent transition to Garden Ridge, where we really talked a lot about that. And I think that was the first time that we've really done community presentations.
Well, I guess I didn't know that.
And we're going to continue to do those because I think it is really important. I agree that what we ask people to do is review their resident and care agreement periodically, especially review it with if you have a financial power of attorney or a financial advisor. That's something that you should review, because I don't know that they necessarily are aware, because you signed the contract when you came in.
Yeah, true.
It might be important it is important to bring them into the conversation, because they're going to need to know that too at some point. So I think just, really having that be an ongoing conversation, to just touch base with Brian at some point.
Periodically, probably.
Yeah, especially anytime your needs
changes.
kind of, exactly. If you need more care in particular, I think that's an indicator that you might want to sit down with Brian and be able to
Yeah,
just
well,
look
since
at
this
that.
came up with her, it's really brought it to my attention, and I
Yeah.
hadn't really thought much about it.
Yeah, it's really important, and I think that if you're talking to your friends, I think it's a good topic of conversation amongst friends too, to just sort of bring that up and go, well, I'm thinking that maybe I need to do this, because it's just really, it is so important, because you don't want somebody to be in a situation where they're not eligible for the benevolent care fund, and they might have to leave the community. That's not anything that we would want to have happen.
No, no. Are very many people in that situation that they have to leave
No.
in the past? Or?
No. Thankfully,
Yes,
thankfully.
yes.
But every once in a while, I know it's sort of hard because people want to help their children. And I think you and I have had this conversation before. And your situation is that you really have to prioritize yourself. You have to make sure that you have what you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's just sort of the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
We don't want to have anybody be in a situation where they would have to leave their home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that would really be difficult.
Absolutely.
Sad.
So I would encourage you
Okay.
to make that appointment through, give Priscilla a call in administration.
And that's Brian I should see.
And have her set up an appointment with you to
Okay.
see Brian.
That's
but-
fine. Well, that relieves my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you. And
Yeah, sure.
I'll
Well,
probably,
great question.
I'll probably be in with more questions another time.
That's okay. I'd love to see you. You always
Thank
have
you.
great earrings. I always like to check out your earrings. So we'll see you later.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Morris, Pansy, how are you guys doing?
We're doing really good.
Uh-huh. How do you mean that?
Well, we're enjoying each other's company, and we're spending a lot of time together, and we're communicating.
And doing fun things together.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've come on a little bit of a problem that I'm not sure you can solve. But if anybody can deal with this problem, it should be a social worker.
We need social
You
work
need
guidance.
social work. Uh-huh. Well, one thing I can do is let you say it out loud, and maybe just in the process of talking about it, we can figure it out. So tell me what's going on.
Well, the problem is that a major holiday is coming up. And Pansy's family has invited me for the first time to join them for Thanksgiving dinner.
So that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah, nice.
And my family has invited Pansy.
Also a
come.
big deal.
And guess what? Both dinners are at exactly the same time.
So there's your predicament, huh?
And to make the matter worse, my sister's coming in from California. I've not seen her in 10 years. And I really want to be with her and the rest of my family.
Right. Of course.
And if I go with my family, I'll get to be with my most precious little great-grandchildren,
They're pretty
whom I
cute.
love and adore. And I hate to miss any opportunity to be with them. So it's a tough decision.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really important because this is the first time, I guess, you've been sort of embraced by each other's families
Yes.
as part
and
of the family.
nobody wants any insults or any hard feelings or anything like that.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. So have you been thinking at all about how you might? I mean, you guys are really good at coming up with compromises. That's why I like you so much. So what's the compromise that you've been thinking about?
Well, it may sound kind of silly, but we'll share it. The dinners, both dinners, are going to be early afternoon dinners. And so we've talked about the possibility of maybe eating a little less. And in the early evening, order pizza in. And if we do, I've promised to pay for it.
But in case, I have my credit card.
I know
And
you do.
can buy pizzas with a credit card these days.
What a world, huh? Well, that's good. So that's the compromise, is just,
Well, yeah, and we think we can do it, but we're not sure whether it's the kind of thing that would
Does it sound good to you?
I think it sounds like a nice way to solve the problem, for sure. So you're going to go to, you're going to each other's, or no, I'm confused actually. So you're both going to each other's,
To our own family.
to your own, but then you're going to be together.
Later in the evening.
Right.
When we order in
Yes.
pizza.
All right. All right. Well, yeah. I'm sure
You think that works?
Yeah, I'm sure the families will be good with
Well,
that.
there'll be other times for us to get together with each other's family when it's not a major holiday.
Yeah, yeah. This is just the first time that you've actually been sort of
Exactly.
accepted into the fold. So,
and that's been the problem with
Yeah.
it, because we don't want to appear to be standoffish
right,
to each other's family.
right, right. But like Pansy said, now the ice has been broken, so you can figure out other times to just have it in a more casual way.
And that's
Year
probably
round.
better anyway, because somehow on holidays, we're all playing parts. We're all a little stiff and a little not normal.
Yeah.
And so this will be, when we get together other times, it'll be more natural and relaxed, I hope.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense to me.
Does it?
Yeah, but I'm happy. I'm so happy that the families are, kind of embracing your relationship. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it is. Hey, you know what? If we don't go to each other's houses, they can talk about it while we're not there.
They can talk about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. There's one remaining possible problem.
Is it
You and I have never talked about toppings that we prefer.
for pizza? Of
Oh
course.
my gosh.
That'll be next time.
That'll be my next consultation with
Yeah.
you. Solving the pizza dilemma. Good one. Well, it sounds like you got a solution. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and I will look forward to the pizza dilemma.
And I hope you have a good Thanksgiving too, Kathleen.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Well, hello, Mrs. Moore. It's so wonderful to get to meet you.
Well, it's very nice to meet you too. It's the
Yeah.
first time, isn't it?
Yeah. I talked to Kathleen. I know you had been in to see her. And
Yes.
I'm so glad we are having the opportunity to meet now. That's wonderful. How has it been coming to Green Spring?
Well, it's an adjustment. Takes time to get used to everything.
Yeah.
And I have my son and his family live out near Ashburn, and my grandson is 16,
Ah,
and my granddaughter is 14.
okay, wonderful. So you're getting to see them more than you had in the past, I would imagine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They used to come over to England when I lived in England
Okay.
sometimes, but it was always complicated because
Right.
they had lots of things to do and lots of, they were busy.
Yeah, well,
And
14
it's-
and 16, I would imagine they're very busy. Probably keep
Oh,
their parents
yes, now
busy,
they are.
right?
Yeah, they do. They
Yeah.
do, yes.
Yeah.
So my object is I'd like to get to know them a little bit, but not to push myself on them.
Yeah.
Just to take it easy and do it gently.
Yeah.
And we've got this Thanksgiving holiday coming up,
I was
which
going
will
to
be my
ask,
first one.
are you going to get to see them on Thanksgiving?
I believe so, yes.
Excellent,
If they come and pick me up.
I bet they would.
Because I was thinking of getting a car, but when I think of driving on the other side of the road and I see all the traffic whizzing around here, and I'm up in years, I think it would be crazy to get a car.
This is crazy driving, even when you're used to driving on the American side of the road. Yeah,
I'm not.
definitely.
And so, I just take advantage of the Green Spring shopping bus and all that.
That's wonderful.
And so far, so good.
Good, good, good.
And they will come and pick me up. I know they'll do
good,
that. Yes.
Good, good. So are you looking forward to Thanksgiving? You said it's your first Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, well, it'll be a new experience,
Yeah.
absolutely new. I've heard a lot about it, and I've been in Trader Joe's and Giant and places and see all those foods there that people can
There's a
indulge
lot
in.
of food at Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
yes.
and I shall take something over there. I don't quite know what yet, but I'll find something or other to take with me when I go.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And then I understand after Thanksgiving, everybody sits back and watches football. And that throws me a bit because I simply don't understand American football.
I'll let you
I
in
wish
on a
I
little
did.
secret. I don't understand American football
Oh, good.
either.
I'm glad there's somebody else.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of just gathering around and being together and watching
Mm-hmm.
football. Or I know I love to watch the Macy's Day Parade on Thursday mornings.
Well, I haven't seen that either. That'll be another first.
yeah. So lots of firsts for you. How?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. How do you
Yes.
feel about that? Are you,
I think I'm ready for it.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So more excitement.
And if things don't work out, you know, I guess I could always go back to England if I really can't stand it. But
Well, we hope that doesn't happen. We
But,
love having you
I
here.
think so
Yeah.
far it's so good.
Good.
And I look forward to getting to know my grandchildren a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, the grandson, his name is Edmund Frank. Frank was after my husband.
Oh, wonderful.
And, you know, he's 16. He's going to be agitating to get a car soon, I expect. And the granddaughter is Sarah Jane. And she's 14, so who knows what happens when she's 14, you know?
Yeah.
Different from when I grew up.
Definitely.
Very different.
But that's great. You'll be nearby and able to get to know them and spend
Yeah,
time
as long
with
as they
them
come and pick me up.
I'm sure they'll come pick you
Yeah,
up.
I expect so.
It
And
sounds
if-
like they want to get to know you too and
Yeah,
spend
right.
time with you. So
Hope
that's
so.
great.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think this Thanksgiving holiday will be a great opportunity to get to spend time with them and get an idea of some of these American traditions, strange as they may be. But
Well, they'll have to tell me about the football, because every time I've tried to watch it so far, you know, something exciting seems to be about to happen, and somebody blows a whistle and everything stops. And then the same thing happens all over again. So
I bet they'll explain it to you.
I hope so. Yeah.
That actually is your grandson or your granddaughter interested in football?
My grandson is.
Grandson.
but
So
he's-
that would be a great way for you and your grandson to connect. Have
Yeah.
him explain American
he'll
football
have to
you.
explain to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet he'd enjoy that. So that's great. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure you'll have a great time.
Well, thank
I
you
look
very
forward to
much.
hearing about it afterwards. And
Very good.
if nothing else, you'll get a great meal out of it.
I will do that, right. Yes. Maybe I'll even bring some home. Who knows?
You should try and get leftovers. There's
Yes.
always leftovers
Yeah,
at Thanksgiving.
that's what I
So,
understand.
yeah, that way
Yeah.
you'll have a nice lunch for Friday too.
Yes.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right. Well, enjoy your Thanksgiving, and I look forward to hearing about it.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you have a good time too.
Thank you.
Okay, well, welcome back. Kathleen, did you see a theme in our three vignettes? You always see a theme.
I do always see a theme. I think part of the theme for me this time was just that our residents are really pretty smart about, you know, thinking through their own problems. So I think I might have even said that to somebody, that it's sometimes coming to see me is just saying out loud what you're thinking.
Okay.
And you know, and then the answer sort of comes out of the conversation that you have. So I'm that sounding board more than anything, and then just you know, allowing their own good problem-solving skills to take effect. And I think I've seen that, you know, have seen that with Penelope before when she met with me that first time as a new resident, and she was doing everything, but it was almost like she sort of needed somebody to just say, "You're doing great, you know, carry on." Same with Morris and Pansy. They're always figuring things out. They're always thinking, so it's just a matter of me, you know, maybe just sort of saying, yes, you're doing good. And also Cecilia. So yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of, they're good characterizations of our residents in terms of how wise our residents are. But sometimes they just do need that sounding board or that person to kind of help them sort things out a little bit out loud.
Well, I think you have pointed out in the past that really talking about something often makes it real.
Yep.
And that one can be in a state of denial, but the minute you start talking about it, it really does become real.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're a sounding board.
Yeah, yeah. Just saying it out loud. I think I myself always say I don't really know what I'm thinking until it comes out my mouth, which may or may not be a good thing.
I've never heard you say that.
I do that with writing too. You know, it's like when I write it, I sort
Yes.
of know
Yes.
what I'm thinking more. But I think it's the idea of, you know, saying it out loud and then having somebody respond to it is a process which helps people think a little bit more clearly about what they're experiencing.
Yes, and I hadn't really thought about social workers as being sounding boards, but that's precisely what you are a lot of the time, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. We just reflect back to people what they're telling us, but when we say it, you know, it gives you a different perspective, and then you can go, ooh, is that, you know, am I really thinking that? Or, oh yeah, I'm really thinking that. So it just gives you a different perspective.
Well, it makes residents feel smart when they come and
Good.
talk. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I hadn't
Well,
thought
if
about
they
it quite
come
that
and
like
talk,
that.
they are being smart because it's a way of using, you know, using a resource. You know, social workers are a resource, and if you're sort of stuck in your own head, then come to us and we'll, you know, help you get past stuck.
I think that's an important point, and we all get stuck, for sure.
Absolutely.
And of course, the other theme is that it's Thanksgiving.
It is Thanksgiving, that's right.
Oh,
The
that-
holiday season is upon us.
Yes, and clearly for everybody, whether you're at Greenspan or not, holidays do bring special stresses. We're with families more. You must find this with the resident population that there are some special stresses.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think it's where you fit in. If you have family, and like Penelope was saying, you know, how do you fit in to your family, you know, because they have been carrying on a life without you in a way, you know, they're kind of like going about their business. So for that one day, it's sort of how to fit into it, you know.
Well, and of course, the other thing is that for those of us who cooked all those years
Right.
and provided the holiday, we're playing very different roles these days.
That's right. You get to be served now.
That's right.
That's
right.
That's good news.
And that's, I mean, I think one has mixed emotions about that.
Sure, of course. Yeah. Traditions are change
Exactly.
as your world changes. So, and we do like to stay the same.
Yes,
That's
but
our
we've had to
inclination.
hand off a good many of our responsibilities.
Yeah, yeah. And you sort of saw that with Morris and Pansy, you know, that since their relationship has, you know, continued, now it's like what they had been doing, which is, you know, go into their separate families. Now they're trying to include each other in each other's family, and that was a logistical nightmare for them. So trying to make those trade-offs and figure out how that's going to work without offending anybody.
Yes, that's a brand new a set of dynamics too.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good problem to have, though.
Wasn't it though?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a
I
good
thought that
problem
was
to have.
that was quite charming. Anything else in the way of takeaway here?
Well, I mean, I think that Cecilia's problem is such an important one. I mean, I can't, you know, say enough about how the topic of the benevolent care fund and, you know, how we stay in compliance with the resident and care agreement to be able to be eligible for it if the time were to come. That's important stuff, and I think because the terms are kind of hidden in an agreement that you probably signed, you know,
And
a
haven't
long
really
time ago.
thought about, that's right, since.
Right, and you know, as a community, we're really becoming aware of the fact that we really need to educate people on that as much as possible. So that was, you know, the presentations that we had done out in the community over the summer, and just also, you know, again, encouraging the residents to take responsibility for, you know, looking at that agreement, but also going to Brian if they have any concerns, pulling in their financial power of attorney or their financial advisor to make sure that everybody understands, you know, what the different situation might be and how it might change going forward. So important, because we don't want people to to not be able to take advantage of the benevolent care fund if they need to.
Oh, absolutely. I suspect this comes as a shock both to residents and some of their families to whom they have given money.
Yeah.
Not realizing that depleting one's funds by giving everything away to your family
Right.
is just not a good idea.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. You have to be careful about that, and it's tough. It's a tough one if you have a family member that's struggling, a child that's struggling.
Absolutely, it would be.
But it is really being financially responsible for yourself is really important too. So anyhow, that's something that people. If people have initial questions, I would direct them to their social worker, and then we can help them to make a decision about whether they need to have that review with Brian now or whether everything's in pretty good shape. But I think it's just one of those other things that we recommend having lots of conversations about, just like I'm always talking about advanced directives and medical power of attorneys. I'm just going to put that on the list of things that we can't ignore. These are important conversations that have to be had with whoever our responsible parties are.
Well, as you're pointing out, I think this has not really been discussed very much. We don't even hear much discussion about this at the dinner table. I think people are simply not aware of this. Instinctively, I think most people are not willing to, draw down all of their own personal funds
yes, absolutely.
unless there's an emergency. But what constitutes an emergency, of course, depends on the individual too. But I think most of us are protective of our funds. But
Right. And actually, I agree, because I think that sometimes that frugality, is that the word?
Frugality, yes, of course.
Can be a barrier too, because sometimes I'm like fighting with a resident to say it's okay to spend that money to take care of your own needs.
I think the way you've been phrasing it, that I have heard you say, Kathleen, is just assume it is a rainy day.
Yeah.
When we all say we're saving for a rainy day.
And I think the other thing that people want to do is they want to save those monies to pass on to their family.
Part of our inheritance.
Your inheritance. And I think you have to take care of yourself, and that's what your family wants.
Right.
Your family doesn't want you to do without so that you can pass that on. So just another one of those important conversations that we have about life.
Well, I think so many folks, particularly those here in their late 80s and 90s, were depression folk. And frugality, I think, is second nature.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so tough. That's a tough one, but we try to break through that resistance and just say, oh, come on, you need it.
So you're looking at both sides of the spectrum here.
Yeah,
One is being careless with money, and the other is being too frugal.
Right, and honestly, most of the problems are on the side of being too frugal. It is an exception when a person has spent,
depleted,
excessively, certainly for themselves. I think that the problem really is when you have a family member that needs the money and you feel, I've got it, let me help, which is, what people, our residents really want to help their families, but they do have to be careful because it's going to affect their own lives, potentially.
Yeah, and you pointed this out to Cecilia, that if you had $1 million, that would be a different story.
Right.
If you gave away half of it, you'd still have enough. But if you're getting down, if you can see the end of your resources at some point,
then you just have to know what the rules are, and you need to follow the rules.
Well, this I thought was a very illustrative conversation that you had with Cecilia. And again, I think it's really, and you're saying the same thing, a very important issue.
Yeah.
So I'm
just
sure we'll come back to this.
Yeah, people want to be informed. That's very important. So hopefully that provided some information.
I would hope so too. Well, Kathleen, I think at that then we'll close up today.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We'll try to see you next month.